Oh, but Koa holds it around the outside, and he gets a way better exit. Pushing hard, already 3 wide into turn 1.
A little bit, and a group of Astons just piling up on him, trying to hold everybody off. Push him wide a little bit. Oh, but you can't make it stick.
Boonstra is able to hold the inside.
Got a little overlap, but he can't do it.
Ooh, and he just caught it.
Mr. Sir and King are banging doors.
Oh, shoot.
And we're off and away for SRA.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to round 3 of Division 4's SRA. Is your host Taylor Molyneux. Joining me today, Waleed Sadat. Just us two on the desk. How you feeling tonight?
Feeling good. Glad we're back to racing after a week break. Hopefully everyone enjoyed the Valentine's Day break, spent some time with their loved ones.
Was indeed a fun break, to say the least. Got some time off, but we did have Misano last week, so nothing was fully broken off. But you did take a break last week, and we had Donahue on the desk. So that was a fun time, but I do see quali about to start. So before that happens, you want to just jump into a quick highlight of the track map for us, Waleed.
Yeah, sounds good. Here at Brands Hatch, not too many turns, not super complicated a track, but because of that, very hard to be really fast compared to the competition. Big overtaking zones into turn 1. If you're really brave, into turn 2, turn 5, turn 9, turn 7. A lot of these are really open, sweeping corners, so you do have a lot of space to pass. I will say ahead of time, I'm concerned about incidents into turn 1. And incidents into turn 3 in particular.
So all I'm hearing is this entire track is up for grabs right now.
Pretty much, yeah. I think the Porsches are really quick, but there is a long-ish straight up the middle of the track where you can kind of get a run on them.
Yeah, according to our lovely kind of timesheet that we had made by the community, if you don't have that tabbed, I believe it's somewhere in one of our Discord chats. If you're looking to join the Discord, simracingalliance.com has all the information on that. They posted a timesheet for all of the setups, and specifically for Go setups. Thank you, our partners. And Porsche happens to be one of, I think, 2 or 3 of the fastest cars around here.
What else is new?
Yeah, but here's the only thing with the Porsche is you can get that one lap down. It's going to be a sketchy lap, but when it comes to race, it's going to be extremely, I'm forgetting the word, volatile. That's the word. Not a safe setup at all. But we have started qualifying, and if you're new here to Sim Racing Alliance, we do qualify a little bit differently than what most leagues do. We have a 20-minute qualifying split up into 2 parts. We have silvers and gold drivers. Our silver drivers will head out for the first 10 minutes, and that's what you're seeing on screen right now. And then our gold drivers will head out for the second 10 minutes. And if you're wondering, who's gold and who's silver, if I could direct your attention to the left, everyone with a a silver number plate will be in our silver division. Everyone with a white number plate will be in our gold division. Right now we are watching the silvers, specifically the silver of White Scarver, who is driving the Ferrari this season.
Great looking livery too, by the way, on that Ferrari. It looks a little bit like Christmas wrapping paper, although I know that's not what it is as we've moved on from that season.
It's the Raspberry Arizona iced tea, I believe.
Ooh, classic.
Classic. Well, let's see. Oh my God! So this is a first for us. He's hitting traffic that hasn't even started their lap yet.
Woof. Sebastian Vettel at Abu Dhabi.
So Brands is notoriously kind of short at being that there's only 9 turns, but I didn't expect that to happen, as some of the people that already started their high lap are now basically funneling back into the queue.
Yeah, this is less than ideal. We'll see how it goes. It should make for a very interesting qualifying.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, when we switch over to golds will have a little bit more space, as we do have less golds than silvers on the track, because tonight we have 42 drivers on track right now, and I believe only 20 of them are made up of gold drivers, if
that is
not
pretty
15.
standard.
So something new, if you can see in the little mini map, there's not a clear open space on that track essentially right now.
Luckily here at SRA, the gap. Ooh,
Davis.
We see what goes on there. The gap inside the divisions is generally not that big.
No.
So if you can carve out a second and a half, 2 seconds into the direction, you should be doing all right.
Yeah, so Sim Racing Alliance really did a good job at kind of placing everyone everywhere, and we have so many people that a lot of these divisions are extremely tight packed. Some under a second gap. Essentially, I believe before we even started the season, D2, D3, something around there was like a 0.6 second gap in terms of hot stint times.
Between 50 cars.
Yes.
That is impressively close racing.
Impressively. But currently, our provisional pole leader, at least for the silvers, Brady on the board, 24-2. But Routledge not having any of that, improving pretty good bit here as he's approaching the last section. Davis kind of in the way here, will be able to back out, so we will get a clean lap. But he did lose some time on that back stretch. Won't be enough to put it provisional pole, but they are up about 6/10. We'll have time for another flying lap. Just enough to put it P3 with a 24-8.
There's a bit of a gap between P1 and P2. I'm concerned if this holds 6/10.
Don't worry, we still have all the golds to come out and just absolutely obliterate some of these times. And since we're talking about the time, since we're at a 24-2 already, I want your predictions on how low we're gonna get in terms of timing.
Oh man.
Qualifying.
I don't anticipate it, but I wouldn't be surprised seeing somewhere in the low to mid 23s.
Okay.
If we see like a 23-3, I'll be impressed.
I'm kind of with you on that one. I'm here for 23-3, and believe Brady is on track to do a 23 now. I believe you have his on board right there. I'll be on board with Boonstra starting her lap. White Scarver jumping up to P2, but still 6/10 up. Still 6/10 off of Brady currently, who is improving right now. Santos is going to jump up to P2 on the left side of your screen there. 2/10 off, 24-4. They're getting a little bit closer. Boonstra is about 2/10 up on their time and still has a good portion of track left.
Brady lost a little bit of time through that sector, but is starting to gain it back. He's 1.5 up.
And if you lose some time in the sector, that just means your next lap is going to be even faster if you can mimic it.
Or you can get really frustrated and not be able to perform. You know, teach
yeah,
their own.
you know, that happens. I choked last week on Misano myself, so you know it happens. Boonstra actually going to be approaching some traffic of Thompson. Thompson doesn't look to be moving out the way, so Boonstra's going to have to back out or just settle with whatever time she's going to get here. Looks like she didn't want to back out, ended up having to back out, so won't set a better lap. Has 3 minutes left to do so can kind of take a cool down lap. Let the car in front go ahead, and actually will not opt to do that. We'll just pull off to the side of the road.
While that was happening, Brady did set a 2/10 faster lap time,
which will put them at a 24 flat right now. And Santos is on track to try to take provisional pole off their hands. Santos 3/10 up, rounding the final corner. Not enough time to really put themselves up there. Will put themselves in P2 though. By 63 hundredths or thousandths of a second.
So much for a 6/10 gap. It lasted about 30 seconds.
Hey, Marvin's right there too. He's got 3/10 to go. He'll have just over 2 minutes, so can generally get 2 laps in right now.
Hop on board. And the Honda, speaking of the Porsche being volatile, the Honda, that is a car that wants you dead. It is not an easy car to drive.
This is how I describe the Honda. I don't really know what the Honda or much about cars in general. If you know the Porsche, the Honda is like a Porsche on drugs.
Yeah, and not the fun ones either.
No, not the fun ones. Ooh, Marvin gonna catch a little too much grass.
That
there.
happens.
Was up more than 3/10 on their time. Was set for provisional pole, but
And White Scarver goes into the wall as well.
That will
Gotta
happen.
get off these guys.
And Kester Curse at its finest here. But the Honda is essentially the handling of the Porsche, but the acceleration and speed of an Audi, I'd say. So just imagine kind of being all squirrely, going through the corner, and then shoving the power down middle of the corner.
Oversteer, and it ends up oversteering like a Lexus.
Exactly. It's an extremely volatile time. We are on board with Santos, who was on track to set a better time than Brady. It wasn't looking like it at first, but now they're a little bit falling off, and it does look like this will be their last lap, so they will have to get a move on it.
But Brady's up 3/10, although just touched dirt and has lost that entire 3/10.
That's how punishing this track is, that even if you just touch dirt or grass or anything, you're losing all that time. All that grip that you would gain keeping your tires on track has cost you 3/10 just on one little clip.
Selena's up about a full 10th.
He's looking pretty good right now.
Ooh, had a little bit of a moment, caught just the tiniest bit of dirt.
Silver qualifying is coming to an end, and it looks like Santos isn't going to improve a lot. We're at all gonna have to make up a ton of time here in this last turn to even think about provisional pole.
And looks like he's doing it.
He is doing it, but he threw it a little too wide, so he won't be able to put the lap down. We'll end up staying behind Brady by 63 thousandths, and that would spell the end of silver qualifying as we see all the golds leak out on the track. But we're still on board with Rodriguez, who is still a silver driver, trying to make their time up. Currently 4/10 up and climbing. We'll put them leaving the P3 range currently. They are losing time now, and the sector 3 might not be their best sector, and as I say that, going off to the grass and validating, it's about the end of their qualifying. Davis is up 4/10. I believe you have that in your picture-in-picture window there.
I am currently tracking with Mr. DJ Watts as the first car out for the gold drivers.
I lied. Davis putting in their personal best, 24-4, my bad, for 4th place. Lots of 4s.
Isn't 4 an unlucky number in some cultures?
Maybe. You know,
At least 4 is a number of deaths somewhere.
Cube Master here, setting down a hot lap for their own. Gonna go 3/10 up, put them P6 with a 24-6. So as we end that, all the gold drivers will be coming out. About to start their flying laps.
Well, we got a little bit of dead time here. Who do you think's gonna take it? Who do you think's taking pole this week?
Oh, I can't. Can't say. I don't know. It's all pretty even. I think Watts is probably a good contender in it. Or not Watts. Sorry, Watts is in a Jag.
And it's not Monza.
Banks. I would say Banks or Craig probably have a good chance at taking this.
Okay.
Maybe Fair. It all depends. It really does, because you could be turned on at so many other tracks, and then you come to this track, and it just doesn't work out for you.
Yeah, and we're hoping to avoid lap 1, turn 1 incidents, but
Correct.
notorious.
It is notorious here, because that turn is cambered, blind, and downhill, all at once. Yeah. And if you don't know what that means in the racing world, that means you kind of turn and hope.
You turn and hope and watch your car wash out wide and just pray you don't take someone else out with you.
Exactly. So it's bold enough to do it in qualifying where you're absolutely flat out. It's another thing to do it 3 wide with 2 other cars on either side of you. We're on board.
Oof. Lap 1. I'm just thinking about the bunching of the pack going into that turn. I can't wait.
We won't think about that too much right now, but what we'll think about is Craig's fastest lap. Their opener lap is at 24.4. 4/10 off of provisional pole right now. We will stay on board.
Putting in the
with
pace.
They are improving just a little bit, not a whole lot. Might have a few tenths or something hidden throughout the sector. His first lap seemed pretty good. He didn't really get a ton of mistakes, unlike that one that he just made going all the way out in the grass. Lost him 2/10 in his overall time, so you just see how much damage that grass will do to you.
Completely true. DJ Watt's putting down a 25-1 in the Jag. Such an undrivable car.
It is really a terrible car, and the fact that he is putting down these insane laps to stay here in Division 4 is mind-boggling to me right now. We are.
I feel like I'd rather drive a cup car.
I'd rather drive the drag. The Jag at least has traction control.
Look, man, the cup cars are more fun to drive. As Potvin loses it coming around the corner, touching the curb a little too much in the Ferrari. I'm talking about the Ferrari. You have to run it really high up to take any kind of curbing.
Correct.
It's
a very low running car, to say the least, and relies a lot on the air effects. As you see in your picture-in-picture window, the car spinning off.
The second I swap to someone who's having a good lap,
Gone.
right into the wall.
Speaking of someone who's having a good lap, Gold having a good lap, 7/10 up on their time. Won't do anything to put them in the top 10, but will be a solid banker lap to put them in P16 for now.
Nice. Funk running into traffic. He's in P3 currently, 600ths behind, and he's 2/10 up.
That is absolutely insane, but he's not allowed to pass this car unless the car yields for him. Does look like he will be, not before he loses 2/10 of their time, so hopefully there's another part of the track that he can make up some time in, because right now it's not looking good.
We almost saw a Jag on pole.
We almost saw a Jag on pole. I mean, don't count your losses yet. He's under a 10th away. So we have 4.5 minutes left of qualifying. Craig is up on their time. Nothing to really sneeze at, though. Won't put him in P3.
Yeah, it seems to be a very clear divide between the top three who are within the same 10th, and then 3 to 4/10 gap to P4.
I mean, I know qualifying's not over yet, but you know, if Craig is actually going to put this one pretty high, P2, 38 thousandths off of provisional pole, 24 flat. But the mix that we have here, in terms of silvers and golds currently in the division, is absolutely insane. I'm actually seeing more golds in the back compared to the silvers, who are occupying the P4 to P11 range right now. As I say that, gold's going to kind of slot in there to P7 with their fastest lap.
Yeah, it's interesting. I wonder if conditions were better. I can't imagine conditions changed that much. Maybe the silvers just put in more practice this week.
I didn't see the temps go down, personally. We are sitting at decent temps today, though, compared to our last two races that we had, where it was either Scorched Earth or Antarctica. Take your picks.
Yeah.
We're sitting at a nice 29 degrees Celsius in track temp.
That's not too bad.
No.
That's almost close to ideal, I feel like.
I would say that is an ideal temperature to kind of race and throw laps at. And Barker seems to be throwing laps. P4 for them, apparently. Gold is also up on their time. Almost by a 10th scope. As I say, that put their tires in the grass and lose a 10th of time there. So we'll have to kind of regroup and redo. 2.5 minutes left. Can get 2 laps in that time.
As you said that, at the same instance, David Funk and the Jag also caught a little bit of grass on the inside right tire. And caught it, but lost a bunch of time.
Jag will kill you. Craig is making up time. Wants to get on that pole. Was up 2/10, actually ended up washing a little bit wide on that turn, so we'll lose it. Still is up on their time, just enough to get them pole for right now. Funk is also up on their time. Still have the rest of the lap left to go, though.
Gulen put in a lap that was 0.6 faster than their previous best, moving up to P15 from the late 20s with a 124.8 in the Ferrari.
Good job. You know, for as much as we said that the Porsche is the car to be around here, Oh, Craig. This isn't Tokyo, but he's drifting it. We'll have to regroup and restart his next lap. We'll be able to make it around in time.
Ferrari already sent him a cease and desist for that action.
Correct. But we talked about the Porsches being pretty good at this track, and we Porsche on pole for what it is, but every single other Porsche is either on the verge of top 10 or out of the top 10.
Hard car to drive.
It is a hard car to drive. What is absolutely astounding to me is that from P1 to P10, it is Porsche, Ferrari, Jag, Aston, Lexus, Honda, Aston, Audi, Ferrari, Porsche.
That's great. What a spread.
That is and throw McLaren in there, and that's a pole position Jag for you right there, right now. 23.9 from Funk.
The Jag is on pole.
Jag is on pole, but yes, we have a lot of manufacturers mixed in there. Craig, one of the Ferrari drivers that wants to put in a decent lap here, can find a 10th here. He was up about 2/10 on his last lap, but then he drifted it.
He can, but Funk is 2.5, 3/10 up on his pole lap right now.
That is absolutely insane. Jag
23.9.
Jag is not like a favored car and by any means, people. Like, this car
So bad.
purely has power, and that's it.
For those who aren't aware, the Jag is an older style GT3 car
Correct.
with less sophisticated electronics and less effective aero.
Correct. It is essentially the closest thing we have to a NASCAR here in the GT series.
Which is why it does really well at Monza. It is actually still competitive at Monza at most levels of racing.
Correct. As qualifying is over, Craig is coming around the final bend, putting in a better lap. We'll put it on provisional pole for the time being with a 23.8. Funk
Immediately tops it off.
We'll top it with a 23.7.
They actually had the same improvement coming out of the last corner, but Funk was already ahead.
That's absolutely insane. As Colin, rounding off the final turn, is up 2/10. We'll possibly put it within the top 10. Is bleeding out some time, but we'll put it P12. Banks coming down. We'll put it P10 for the Porsche. We have two Porsches in the top 10 now.
Volkowitz in a Porsche in 40th is currently up 6/10 going through his lap. So let's see where he ends up.
Smith is going to end just gaining one position. Volkowitz, I believe, is the final car on track right now.
That is correct.
And we didn't go over penalties, but just to let everyone know, Matisse does have a qualification ban.
Well, as Volkowitz is a second up, gets 6 positions out of it.
So good stuff there from all of our silver and gold drivers. We have a good bit of a split amongst everyone in the top, so will be something to play for here.
I'm just still trying to figure out how to congratulate someone for putting a Jag on pole.
We don't. We kind of move on. Pretend it didn't.
Mention it.
Pretend it didn't happen, right? But while we're waiting for everyone to dial in their race setups and everything, let's go over some of the standings, and I'll take you through those. Yeah, as we are on about to go double file here. Side by side we go, and this start should be kind of spicy, to say the least.
Yeah, I feel like the top of the grid might get away pretty clean. I'm a little more concerned about the midfield, just because it's so crowded. And like we've talked about through qualifying, turn 1, woof.
I will stand with you here, as we'll be watching the front half of the grid on the main screen, the back half on your picture-in-picture window. So watch for some carnage either way, as we are about to throw the green flag here. Any day now. And we are green, and everyone gets a pretty decent start here. Ferrari on the outside is going to be allowed through. Everyone filing through nice and cleanly so far in the front half of the pack. Side by side, we still go here is Craig and Brady. Brady down on the inside is able to get that position from Craig. Craig's going to now have to slot back in line, hopefully make something up. Barker's going to be able to gain that position from another car. Everyone's still side by side in the back. No real contact here from the front. Still side by side with Rose and Branks. We go down on the inside is Rose holding it together. Is door bashing just a little bit, but enough contact is clean. And it looks like Rose will be able to get the drag out here. That is an Audi engine, but it looks like that Ferrari is sticking with it right now as it got a better exit, and it will actually have the inside here. Touching too much grass, gonna end up spinning out, almost going to the wall, is able to hold it down.
What a catch.
But we'll have to give up a lot of positions. Actually gonna force the car a little bit wide there. But Rose is still going through it. Still fighting it, is able to slot right back in line. And there's Porsche. Rose is off. 1, 2, 3 cars off in the grass. Rose is spinning. Colin is able to make it back on track safely. So now there's a little bit of a traffic jam in the back. Rodriguez is going side by side here with Boonstra. Or Boonstra trying to poke their nose in.
Yellow flag for White Scarver and Rose. White Scarver parallel to the track. That's unfortunate.
Boonstra will
Not
get
sure
that
what happened
position. Rodriguez is now going to be contested here by the Honda. Honda going to go deep on the inside, is going to be able to hold that inside all the way through, just going to be able to cut it off, and we'll get that position. And this is now inviting Cockcroft into the party to dive up on the inside, and we'll get that move done as well. There is a bump in the back I saw. I believe that was Zach Sky on Dockendorf. But overall, not too much carnage, but chaotic still.
Yeah, surprisingly clean through lap 1. No major incidents. A little bit of rubbing and a couple people touching dirt, but nothing too crazy. Impressively clean, actually.
Very impressive indeed.
As we look through the grid, there are tiny gaps everywhere. P1 is half a second clear of P2, who is half a second clear of P3, who is half a second clear of P4, who is basically half a second clear of P5.
Well, we forgot to mention something. Probably pretty important. We have a 55-minute pit window today.
Oh!
So
Extended pit window week.
Pit window opens at the 2.5-minute marker and will close before 2.5 minutes for the end of the race. So, fun stuff indeed.
For those of us who are rejoining the stream now, as we're back on YouTube. Lap 1, relatively clean. A couple little touches, nothing too crazy, no one dead.
Not yet.
Pretty consistent gaps.
Boonstra is looking down on the outside of Routledge, but not going to be able to get that move done, it look like.
To look at,
still able to stay in line, and we are back live on YouTube. Sorry for the technical difficulties. Don't worry, we do have the recording for the parts that you missed. We'll recap. As Waleed said, no big incidents just yet. Everyone's still bumper to bumper action. As we predicted, this track will essentially go line in line, but Zitko is looking to go side by side with a car and will actually end up making their way through on Robichard. Just going a little bit wide, but is able to keep the position. Robichard going to have to tuck back in. Watts is going to be feeling mighty anxious to get past Tibbetts here, and Tibbetts is going to be feeling the pressure.
For sure, like we said, real tight track, so that also means the sensation of the car coming up behind you is definitely elevated. You feel the pressure a little bit more, I think, on these kinds of tracks.
A little bit, because they are fully in your mirror. It's not like you have a little portion of mirror that's free. It's their bumper is in your mirror, and that's it. Marvin's sizing up Baker. Not going to take the move. It is still early on. We have 55 minutes left in the race. Pit window open here.
Rodriguez sends it up the inside of T1 on Cockcroft and doesn't get the move done.
We have a yellow flag by Routledge. Not sure what happened there. Did cause a little bit of a pile up. Ended up just drifting around T1.
Just Honda things.
Don't think there was any damage on that car. I think he made it away pretty clean, but definitely caused some congestion for Platt and Zitko in the back there. Now Davis going side by side with Marvin here. is able to hold the inside, and that is a favorable line for that, so we'll be able to get the inside for the next turn. Is still holding side by side. Good racing, gonna shuffle out wide to cut him off. Marvin now coming back on the inside of Davis. We'll have the priority line for this turn. Davis gonna look for a switchback, not gonna do so. Might poke their nose to the inside, thought about it, not gonna do it. Marvin is able to fend off that position well.
Great drive from both not to take each other out through there. A little bit behind P12 to P16, all covered by less than half a second between each of them.
Absolutely outstanding. Such close gaps. Davis trying to make up time on Marvin, but Marvin is able to capitalize on some of these exits. Now in front, Funk, the Brady is 6 to 7 tenths currently. Craig kind of fell off from that pack. Boonshaw's going to send it around the outside here on the Honda. Is able to get that move done. And now she sets her sights to Cullen.
It's further down the pack, Josh Tibbetts and Sky still within a tenth or two of each other, fighting side by side, coming out of turn 1 down the hill.
Love to see two Ghost Riders fighting cleanly, at least.
The last word's the most important there.
Yes. Cullen chomping at the bit of Donahue. Donahue in the Porsche is not going to have the engine compared to this Ferrari. It is going to try to hold some defensive lines. Actually getting extremely close, Cullen is. Donahue will stick this line and we'll be able to hold that. And I have gotten word from Donahue before the race start that Donahue is out on bail.
Nice.
So be careful, Donahue. You can easily go right back in. But
I will say that Porsche doesn't have the top end engine power, but it does get such a good drive out of the corner, as we see someone do a full pirouette in the background.
he does.
It has such a good drive out of the corners that it makes up for its lack of engine power down the straight. By the time other cars spin up and can actually get past, you're into the braking zone where you're not going to beat a Porsche into a braking zone.
Looks like blue flags are already causing an issue. White Scarf are going to have to get out of the way for a lot of these cars. Donahue trying to hold off Cullen. Cullen is chopping at the bumper right now of Donahue. Not able to get the move done. It will actually end up washing out a little wide there as Donahue holds it in a little bit tighter. Donahue doing a great job at defending this position right now. He's wrecking
Sky.
Yep, all over Sky. One actually losing out on some time right now.
For those who missed, Matt Madison making some moves. Started from last, not qualifying due to penalty, now up in P34, so it's a gain of 8 positions.
We do have to take in effect this pit window here. And I do kind of I kind of want to touch on the fact while we have everyone kind of funneling in line right now, pitting early on this track, yay or nay? It is a short, tight track.
I'm of the opinion your pit strategy is based more heavily on where you are on the grid. I think if you're one of the race leaders, you want to wait as long as possible to avoid getting caught up in traffic. Mm-hmm. Although because of the shortness of the track, you might get caught up in traffic anyways.
That's kind of what I'm feeling here.
But at least at that point, that traffic is guaranteed to be a blue flag. Whereas if you pit early, the cars you end up behind will not have blue flags and have no obligation to get out of your way.
That is, Cockcroft is making up positions. Ditko now looking to get the best of exits out of that last turn. White Scarvers all over the bumper. I believe that was a Boonstra, but can't go anywhere because of the blue flag. Now Sky on Tibbetts. Sky's going to look up the inside with that Porsche on Tibbetts, choosing not to go through. So we'll just hold the position. Now Zitko.
And to note, Madison, Riggs, Dockendorf, Bajdon, White Scarver, Smith, and Rodriguez, the back of the pack, has all entered the pits and done their pit stop.
Be interesting to see what happens as Zitko is looking to see what happens going side by side with Cockcroft here. Does have the engine power. We'll just clear him in time for the turn, so we'll successfully overtake for that position. You're covering Cullen's battle.
Yes, sir. Half second behind Donahue.
Still there, nothing too big. A lot of people are choosing to kind of take this pit early, it seems like.
Yeah, the gaps have definitely spread out significantly in the last 2-3 laps.
And Platt is on the grass, had to rejoin a little bit sketchy. Recton's going to be able to take this outside around Platt, and we'll get that position. Tibbetts now coming up behind Platt, going to try to capitalize off of that mistake. Side by side, they go into the final turn. That Mercedes is wide and can hold that inside line. Does it cleanly. Sky's now in the back, trying to get past Platt, make up on his mistake, but that Porsche engine is not going to outpower that Aston here.
No, but it should have the speed through this corner and then the brakes into the braking zone to turn 2. Let's see how brave he gets.
Don't think Zach Sky's going to take it. We'll just decide to slot in. Tibbetts is now around off the track. All that work he put in to take over Platt will be null and void, and now Sky has kind of free reign to take Platt here. We'll have the slipstream. Recton is about 2 seconds ahead.
Pulling in on Boonstra, manages to get the pass done. See if they can hold the position as they're moving through, but it does look like they do have a clear car length on that Porsche. Boonstra bleeding time now, maybe made a mistake, maybe got spooked by the pass, but is now down 0.8 through a corner.
Not what you want to see if you're Boonstra. Rutledge approaching Cockcroft. Relatively quickly, that Porsche engine's seeming to be a little sketchy right now. That Honda's getting such a better exit. Is going to poke their nose out on the inside, but not going to be able to get the move done, so we'll just slot right back in line. Oh, and actually spinning out. Too much gas on the exit. Puts in the wall. There's probably some front end damage there. We'll have to get it going. Have to wait for everyone to pass, and on this track there's not a lot of gap space to see.
Luckily, right at pit entrance, I would dive straight into the pits and get a repair done.
Not gonna take it. Not gonna take it.
Ooh, I don't know about that call. Have they already pit?
I don't believe so. No, they have not. So maybe not enough damage. Maybe they don't see enough damage on their end to warrant a early pit stop.
I'm not sure I agree with the strategy call, but we'll see how it plays out. Update on our leaders. Brady's still leading the race. 0.8 clear of Funk, and Brady in the Porsche and Funk in the Jag, respectively.
Zitko's going side by side with Boonstra now. That Aston Martin engine is able to outpower Boonstra to clear the length. Boonstra now going to have to slot back in line, kind of catch that draft of Zitko. White Scarver behind them, who is a blue flag, can't really pass unless he can build a second gap in one lap.
Towards the back of the pack, Volkowitz closing on Roderick's 3/10 gap in closing.
Olin ended up off, which kind of relieves some pressure from the cars in front. Donahue's chomping at Fair currently. Donahue trying to coin the rise of Donahue again after coming out of bail. Could take a very risky dive here, decides against it. Fair is taking an extremely shallow line here. Donahue is going to try to take a little bit of a wider, get a better run, but not going to be able to do it. Fair still holding their position right now. That gap is shrinking ever so slightly every single turn they take, but luckily for Fair, we are coming down to a straight, so that will be null and void, essentially. And now
a breather.
Now Banks and Potvin side by side for a second. Potvin's going to let Banks go through. Nothing will come of that.
In the picture, we see Coolin, Cockcroft, and Watts all within 6-7 tenths with some blue flag action in the middle of it.
Love to see that. As Gold's now going to try on Santos. Santos is going to try to take a defensive line here. Gold P4 will be able to do it. Gold will just slot back in line. Santos ends up going wide. Gold's going to have to shuffle their position to the inside. Who has the power here? Gold's on the inside, does have the vantage point for this. Santos is able to hold this outside if he wants, and that McLaren is able to hold a ton of speed through the corner. Gold's getting just squeezed out. Good squeezing by Santos. Take that. Barker's now coming to join the fight, trying to dive up on the inside of Gold. Wasn't able to do it. Gold shut that door relatively quickly. Barker's just going to stay there, squealing their wheels, frustrated.
That McLaren is a marvel. It's such a good aero car that those high speed sweepers are really where it dominates.
And I think that this track is kind of perfect for it, at least in terms of race trim. Maybe not so much quality trim, but in terms of race trim, it's good, as Gold ended up going off track. So that battle will fizzle and dissolve out. We'll go down to P7 here. Or P8, sorry.
Down the grid, Lorenzo coming at the back of Shepard. Real close racing. They're coming down the front straight, going into T1. Shepard holding the inside line and holding the position.
Donahue approaching fair again. Here in Sector 3, the favorable sector for the Porsche, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. See if Donahue gets any kind of ideas, maybe trying to dive up on some of these turns. I do see a car spinning off on track. Luckily, blue flag. Donahue not making any kind of effort here, trying to at least just get to the bumper affair for the time being, as they are approaching the blue flag of Cube Master.
That blue flag car that spun off at a distance was badged on the 3rd in P33 in a Honda.
Oh, the Honda.
We've seen a lot of Hondas lose it today.
I mean, relatively speaking, the Honda at this track is going to be a hard car, to say the least. These exits are very difficult to get down, and if you just spin your tires the wrong way, you're done for.
That's just life of a track with only 9 corners.
Exactly. Donahue having some issues. Ditko coming behind Donahue, trying to make an overtake, but Donahue is able to fend off, at least for this corner. Zitko does have the power of the Aston Martin here to back him. Might be a little too far back, though. Donahue does have the slipstream still of fair. So Zitko will just have to kind of slip back here in line and hold for the time being.
Aston Martin, powered by Mercedes.
Holland's now going side by side with Boonstra, is able to outpower Boonstra, take that racing line. Boonstra will slot right back in. Powered by Mercedes. Oh, Boonstra's on the comeback.
Yeah, as DJ Watts is still just keeping Cockcroft honest directly behind them. 0.3 behind Cockcroft, who is himself only half a second behind Boonstra in this fight with Coolin.
I will say, White Scarver pitted extremely early and came out extremely low. He is being held up by this traffic right now.
I wonder what the logic was behind the immediate pit. Was there damage? Was there a little bit of contact? Or was it get out of the way?
I mean, we'll never fully know unless we watch back their replay specifically.
That's a fair point.
You see Watts picture-in-picture window coming up on Cockcroft here. Actually, side by side they're going.
Man, that Jag just looks out of place.
It really does, but it's about, to, it's about to get the move done. And White Scarver is a blue flag. So you get the move done, that should be a guaranteed move done.
As commentators, we tell no lies and we try to lay no curses.
Most of the time they land the curses.
Update on the leader. Brady is now 2 seconds here, clear of Funk in P2. So that's why we haven't seen much of him in either screen. He's off doing his own thing, doing some hot laps. I will say his best lap so far is a 24-1, which is basically his qualifying pace.
That's honestly insane.
Yeah, that's a heater of a lap.
Yeah.
With full fuel.
We have 41 minutes left in the race, still a ton of time. Someone going into the wall in your picture-in-picture window.
Yep. Fortunate, it looked like Recton had a yellow flag incident, and Mr. Watts had something happen where he has some front-end damage, and he's now 5 seconds behind Cockcroft.
Not what you want to see at all. Marvin approaching Barker here. About to have some Honda on Lexus action here for a little bit.
The fight for Japan.
Or P5 as well, but
less prestigious.
We all know what the real battle's for. Marvin not able to make up a ton of time. Barker is just being very clean and fluent on these turns.
Cockcroft is behind Boonstra, both in equal machinery. Probably running slightly different setups, but keeping her honest for sure. Closing the gap down to 4/10.
Craig is now approaching Funk. We are now within 0.3 seconds currently. As Funk is going to put their Jag in the grass a little bit, opens the door for Craig. Craig is going to go side by side, dives down on the inside of Funk. Funk trying to hold the outside here. Craig still able to hold the inside, is going to be able to get that move done. Funk slotting back in line. We'll just have to hope that his car can outpower that Ferrari in the straight.
Yeah, I think Funk has the raw pace for sure, but as we saw during qualifying. But I will say Craig has been faster with race pace, both in his last lap and his fastest lap of the race.
We'll say, and that is proving to be a fact as they are up 8/10 currently, even on the straight with that Jag power. Not able to get anything done. So this kind of unleashes Craig towards Brady. See what happens unless Brady can just take this one home.
And as we're saying that, Marvin, Barker, and Davis, why is it always you three? Back to them. Covered by a blanket, 3/10 in between them.
Marvin did overtake Barker, though. But Barker's
Oh,
not
that's
giving
true.
up. Speaking of someone that's not giving up fair. Looking on the inside of Master, gonna choose no. Fair will just slot right back in behind this Porsche.
A little bit further back. We have Cockcroft and Boonstra again, within 2/10 of each other, just keeping them tight, keeping them honest.
Oh, and Master's off and ends up spinning in the grass. That's into the wall. That's some major damage on that Porsche. Luckily, it is within turn 8, so we'll be able to pit relatively quickly. But now Donahue chomping at the back of Fair. Not going to be able to do anything here on this turn. Maybe in the turn 1 we'll have to see, or possibly in the turn 2. Those Porsche brakes should make turn 2 a pretty liable option. Donahue going to actually step out of the draft for whatever reason.
Not just lucky, by the way, for Master to be in the pits right there, but also to somehow not take out Fair coming across the track.
Fair did have to lift off the car, I will say so. Donahue
That'll do it.
not going to be able to get that move done. Barker is all over the back of Davis now, though.
And Sky is closing up on Watts, 310 gap that is closing. That Porsche getting a good run on the Jag.
Barker's going to stick their tires in the grass, not going to spell well for the battle.
Wrong racing sim for that.
Correct. This grass does not, in fact, cool your tires.
Zitko gets the pass down on Donahue and clears some time. I wonder if Donahue made a mistake somewhere. He's now 1.7 behind.
I mean, it's a
And
Porsche.
Well, that fair. He has also invalidated this lap, so I wonder if he hit some grass, went off track a little bit.
Be interested to see. Barker is gonna wash it wide in turn 1. We'll lose a ton of time to Davis. In fact, over a second worth of time lost.
Whoa. That's all to do to get it back.
Will that work? The yellow on Rutledge.
Yep.
Was off in the wall. That's damage on the Honda this time. Oh, goes side by side with Rodericks. Right off the bat, coming right back on track. Is able to get away cleanly. Cockcroft coming up on Master now. Master, after that incident he had, did not pit.
I feel like I disagree with some of the pit decisions being made today.
I'm gonna have
just a commentator.
I'm gonna have to agree with you. I mean, we race tomorrow, so
That's fair.
let's not get too hasty now. We know at least some things, maybe.
No, stay out. Stay out.
Stay out. Stay out.
The grid kind of spreading out pretty evenly today. No super close fights besides Rutledge and Platt, who are basically on top of each other. Going side by side through, I believe that's turn 3, running into some blue flags, or maybe potentially being blue flagged.
Potentially.
But other than that, there are 1 or 2 close battles. Zitko and Fair,
Yeah, I was about to say, speaking of, they're about to go side by side here into turn 1. Zitko is actually going to end up pulling out of this one. Maybe a little too much. That was about 6/10 given up, as Fair is not looking very good on the internet side of things right now.
probably why Zitko's like, I'm gonna back out. I'm gonna live to fight another day.
Probably a little sketchy from Zitko's view, but Zitko does have the pace to get past Fair here. It's just about when are they going to take it. Speaking of pits, Cube Master, Kokoff, Brunstraw all come into the pits at the same time. Zitko tried for the inside.
He
there.
backed out. No, he
backed out hard.
He got scared.
I mean, I can't say I blame him with a car that's moving parallel to the track. Or perpendicular to the track, sorry.
It's the new Hummer EV. You haven't seen that? They got crab walking now.
Crab walk. That's what crab
Motorsport
walk is.
inspired.
Zitko actually really wants by. I can see the hesitation that Zitko's trying to do. Trying to get past Fair here, but is just scared to do so. Gonna have to find one of these turns to go by, because we'll just have to send it at one point. That, or you just pit right now and get out of this fight.
Yeah, this would be a situation where I would pit early. As
well, if
lead car pits.
Fair will do it for him.
Sick.
That's what we call a win on track.
A little bit of frustration, though. If you were going to pit anyways, get out of the way.
That's true, as Boonstra and Rose are going side by side. Rose will take this position. Boonstra will just slot right in.
Rose does still need to pit, though, and Boonstra has cleared her required pit stop.
We do have... What do we have here?
There is no one within 1 second within the top 19 drivers currently. We've had a bit of a shakeout.
And we have Funk approaching Craig somehow. Gonna assume Craig made a pretty hefty mistake, as their gap went from about 2 to 3 seconds to now 5. And now Funk is on the hunt.
I'm rooting for this Jag. I don't know if I'm allowed to pick someone I want to win, but I'm rooting for the Jag.
You are welcome to root for whoever you want, with a completely non-biased opinion, obviously.
Oh. I'm going to start putting the cam on the drivers around him, see what happens.
We're heading to the long straight, as Jag does have the better power over the Ferrari, but proving at this track doesn't seem like it matters too much. Davis has actually ended up perpendicular on the track now.
That's less than ideal. As Donahue has dove into the pits and Cooling gets to pass on him.
Davis coming in turn 2. Oh! Maybe wasn't expecting Marvin to cut that close on the track. Davis ended up getting a little surprise door.
One of the worst surprises you get on track is surprise door. Whether it's getting hit by one or losing one.
And confirm. Hotcroft is approaching Madison, who's made his way up the P22 from last place. Still has to pit though, so see what happens there.
A little bit of weaving behind that Porsche, letting him know he's there as the Porsche dives in the pits and Madison gets cut loose.
That Porsche that dove into the pit hit the grass a little bit. It's kind of a little scary. That's a clincher for sure.
Yeah, especially because the pit lane entrance here is like a squiggle. It's a chicane into the pit lane, which is less than ideal, I think.
It very much, any pit lane that's not a straight line and involves some kind of turning, definitely not ideal. Not for safety, not for racing. Madison's going to end up going wide here, actually opening the door for Cockcroft. Is going to be able to take this inside, and we're making it 3 wide. Craig is here. Blue flags waving around. Craig wants to get by as fast as possible, trying to get away from Funk. We're in a 4-block situation with these cars. Cockcroft can't really slow down too much, or else he's going to be blocking Funk. So we're just going to have to end up going side by side here. Craig going to take that line. Funk not going to be able to take the inside line due to Cockcroft. Cockcroft is able to stick his car here for at least 1 lap now that Funk is behind him. But it is ideal that Cockcroft gets out of the way as soon as possible.
And you know he wants to. It's just there's nowhere to at the moment.
There is minimal straights to let a car by. And maybe that's partially why you saw Craig kind of dive into that 2-car battle. Because he wants by so bad. He knows that there's not many places to just get by.
It's a pleasant moment going to the pits, touching that grass, touching that dirt. But managed to keep it in one piece, just to lose a little bit of time. But yeah, I can tell you exactly what a cockcroft is saying in that situation. Oh no, oh no, oh no, oh no! I need to get out of the way. Oh god.
That is precisely what's happened. As your top 15 still needs to pit currently. We have about 27 minutes left in pit window. We are about halfway done with the race entirely. Look for people to kind of take this pit at this time. This is kind of around the normal time that people go in, as Banks is demonstrating for us by going into the pits.
Yeah, and there's no. I know at Barcelona with the high temperature, there was a thought like, okay, get in the pits early, cool the tires off, recover from the battling, and then get back into it. Not as much a concern here.
It's not extremely hot. It's not extremely cold. It's just right. So it is
something. 3 bears.
3 bears. Barker approaching Marvin relatively quickly. Marvin not getting the best of exits there. Barker going all over the back of Marvin. Actually going to make it too wide. Going to have the outside line. Not an ideal line. We'll try to cut back on the inside. Marvin is squealing around, drifting. Barker will take the inside now, and will take that position right off of Marvin's hands.
While that was happening in the picture-in-picture, Wolkowitz sending it up the inside of Tibbetts, and that Porsche showing exactly why it's better through the corners in the Merc. Just a real casual move, and now pulling 7, 8 tenths on the Mercedes behind him.
Now almost a little bold there, stuck their nose where it probably shouldn't have. And while that's happening, Colin, Recton, and Platt are going to go into their pits. That's P20, P21, P22 currently. Barker able to get away. Marvin dropped off heavily. Must have made a decent error or mistake there. Trying to dive up the inside of probably where he shouldn't have been.
While it's happening, Brady not blinking, 4.5 seconds up on Craig, who
Absolutely.
is a second up on Funk. Just they're casually driving around Brands. There's some cars in the way, but they're just doing their own thing.
It's just a track day, you know.
Yeah. As I will say, Zitko's fastest lap of the race right now, 1:23.845, which
that's insane.
I think would have been pole position.
It would have been, or it would have been like a couple thousandths off.
Doing that with, I wonder if there's a split fuel tank situation going on there.
There could be. I don't think it's ideal at this track, I'll be honest. Sometimes you kind of want that fuel to weigh your car down depending on how volatile it is through these turns.
That is a good point. Although the Porsche, I believe the gas tank's in the front.
It is. So,
yeah.
I mean, if you're splitting the fuel on the Porsche, you're not seeing too heavily of results, but
it's racing. Any advantage you can take, you can get.
They're gonna get held up by Greer. Funk gonna have to compromise their racing line in turn 1 because of we are still back racing. Sorry, go ahead.
Chat shouting at Craig. Really want a good result.
He's there. Craig's was about 5 seconds off of Brady a while ago, so got that gap to 3.8 now. Craig definitely has the speed. It's all about catching up to Brady and making that move.
The win is very much in play. We'll see if he gets to it, though.
Correct. Donahue out of the pits here, approaching Davis. Not really quickly with that Porsche engine, but approaching.
Rude.
Hey, I drive the Porsche myself. I can say that engine is not good. That was probably, I would go to say that is slower than the McLaren engine.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. The McLaren engine isn't super slow as
Craig.
He had contact between Funk and Craig. Or Funk and a backworker?
Craig got a little squirrely here on the exit, ended up spinning it. Too much curb, ended up just taking Funk with him.
Woof.
Oh,
and hitting the push behind.
Unda trying to recover. Craig is going to just go into the pits. Funk's going to stay out and saying, damage schmamage.
Car didn't have arrow anyways.
I race block.
Oh man, the scenes.
Marvin is approaching on gold now. Not by a whole lot right now. That Honda is being extremely fast right now, though. It's all about not cooking the tires on exit. Gold might have to start holding up here. There is a blue flag. That is not a blue flag. That is Barker.
as that fight that you're watching is currently the only fight within 1 second on track.
I see Banks and Watts are within 1 second.
Oh, yep, there we go. We just gotta comment on it, and then someone makes a mistake.
Yeah, that's how it happens, because that's literally what just happened.
Fights close back up, and then immediately spread back out.
Yes. Marvin is technically our only battle on track. We now have Potvin, Craig still in the pits. That's a lengthy repair.
Damage? Question mark?
Well, I mean,
Definitely
he did
but how
get
much repair?
smacked. He is out now, but that was a pretty hefty amount of damage. Put him down in P13. Gonna have to keep an eye on Funk's pit where he comes out and see what happens. So we now only have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 12 drivers who have yet to pit.
I will say Funk's last lap of 25.6 doesn't indicate a whole bunch of damage. His fastest lap is significantly faster, but he's lapping pretty consistently with the people around him. The top guys on track right now doing somewhere in the 25s.
As most likely the tire wear is kind of setting in now. Especially if you're driving a Porsche or a Honda, that tire wear is now kind of coming into play. You're starting to feel your car slide a little bit more.
You see a car backwards in the picture-in-picture, something's going on there.
Or Zico, Urchin Thompson.
Rutledge in the Honda, who has now moved it off track and is not moving?
He's contemplating.
Ah, there we go.
There he goes.
Probably wondering how I ended up here.
Just took a break, took a sip of water real quick. Ends up rejoining pretty safely.
One of those hit the wall, you do a full blind check, like, alright, everything's still attached. I can feel my hands, I can move my feet. Alright, we're good.
Alright,
Back on track.
Gold is approaching Barker with relatively quick speed right now.
Look, Banks closing up on Mr. DJ Watts. That Jag has seen better days. That is some hefty front end damage, it looks like. Or maybe the Jag just looks like that, but I believe it's front end damage.
Yeah, I believe it is, as we see Barker now going to dive into the pits. Get your look at what the pits actually look like, which is awful.
Jag has Lexus badges on the back of it.
Banks is approaching Watts here, like you said in your picture-in-picture. Throw it up on the main screen real quick.
Ooh, and I'll hop into Zico and Thompson close behind, where it's a half a second gap behind.
Banks all over the bumper here of Watts. But that Jag engine is just holding on for dear life. The corners, it's struggling in right now.
The Jag is fat, man. It's a wide car.
It is, and that kind of spells disaster for Banks, as Banks has already cleared their pit stop. So any time spent behind these top 7 drivers right now is just bleeding. For instance, Banks' gap to leader right now is about 1:14 seconds. Ooh, Watts is going to end up going wide. It's going to end up pulling the inside here. Banks might try for a switchback. Is exactly going to do that. Is on the road, has more grip. That Jag engine is just outpowering the Porsche, but the Porsche is able to hold the inside here, trying to get enough space in there to compromise the Jag exit, but that Jag is going to come back here on this stretch. Banks still going side by side. Watts is coming right back. Watts going to choose to slide right back in the line and let Banks go. Banks has been released, ladies and gentlemen. Not fully.
Now time for him to lead the charge, because no one ahead of him has pit.
So this is all of his time to make up every single bit of time that he lost.
As Zico is all over the back of Thompson. They've been nose to tail for 4 or 5 sectors now.
Davis is now approaching Potvin, who's had a little bit of a shady exit. Brady behind them, who's going to actually end up being blocked here, because Davis is going to go side by side with Potvin into the last corner. I lied. They slot right back in the line.
Thompson made an error. Zico slid up the inside and manages to pull a 3/10 gap going into turn 1.
Davis
And gaining.
Davis is not letting Brady by right now.
I mean, he does have a full lap to do so.
He does. He has somewhere around the back stretch area, I believe, somewhere in sector 3 to let him by. Brady flashing away at Davis. Brady's absolutely gutting time away.
Yeah, the gap is now only 10.5 seconds.
Davis finally gonna let Banks through. Seeing your picture-in-picture window, Craig Thompson side by side.
Yeah, I think Thompson's having some sort of issue because he's bleeding time to the cars behind. This is the second car now. Zico 3 seconds cleared through half a lap after passing him.
That is
and
a...
Craig,
Sorry, go ahead.
and Craig, who had race leader pace, not coming back to the field after his incident.
Well, I will say that is a McLaren engine. So, take it with a grain of salt on whatever time that they're bleeding away.
We've only heard negatives about engines. Who has a good engine besides the Jag?
Audi, Honda, Lexus.
The Honda
Ferrari,
is
Aston.
having a good engine bothers me.
Rodriguez is going to end up making a mistake, which is going to open the door for Riggs to go side by side in the last turn. Rodriguez is going to let Riggs go on by, try to get the chase on. Davis now trying to go side by side here with Potvin. Not going to happen. Both cars letting Brady by. Donahue now into this fight. All of these cars have cleared their pit window, so this is a race for position here. Brady going a little wide, and everyone else going to follow him through on that same exit. For whatever reason, Brady is just straight up flashing.
So a little bit further back, Cubaster and Selena Boonstra, P21 and P22 respectively. 3/10 gap coming through turn 1 now. Porsche on Porsche action.
Potvin getting held up a little bit by the blue flag of Shepard. Davis is going to look to the inside. Not going to be able to do it. That door closes fast. Now Donahue's on the inside. Davis, they're door bashing a little bit.
Yo, I need my tacos and I need them now.
Donahue able to make that position up off of the mistake that Davis tried to put it on the inside of Potvin. Potvin now going off into the grass. Donahue could potentially come back here, get this position as well, but we'll just slot back in line. Now on the stretch, we'll have to fend off from Davis, but also could make up a position here to Potvin.
Just got a little greedy, took a little too much curb on the inside. The middle sector here at Brands is a little deceptive. You're like, oh, I can cut through the inside, try to get a tight line, and it'll skip you into the dirt real easy.
I don't think he necessarily took too much curb there. He looked to the inside, he poked his nose up there, but pulled out because Potvin wasn't slowing down. Oh, and that's a car in reversing almost into Davis.
Jay Thompson in P14 has just completely sent it off track backwards.
Almost taking out a couple cars in his wake.
For the content.
Stream was looking a little boring, had to spice it up a little bit.
Pushes right up the rear end of Q-Master. Hard to make a pass in equal machinery for sure.
That's for sure.
Does your strategy change? I know, like, driving the Porsche, right?
Mm-hmm.
Generally, we're like, all right, we got to find a big braking zone, and we can brake 20, 30 meters later than other cars. Send it up the inside, we'll be all right. How does your strategy change when you're in a Porsche chasing a Porsche?
I mean, it just turns into regular car racing at that point. Just like Zitka is going to do to Watts here on the inside of turn 1. Watts going to wash out a little bit wide. Zitka is going to be able to hold off the inside. Coming down into turn 2, they are still side by side. Zitka is going to try to send it. Not able to do so. It looked like Watts took a little too much, but that outside line, I guess, is just working for the Jag.
No arrow, no problems.
No arrow, no problem, but ending up going a little wide in the grass. Zitka is going to now try to come back here on the turn inside. Not going to do it. Zitka going to play the safe card here. Just let Watts go. Anyway, back to you.
I think Zico realizes that Watts still has to pit.
Yes. But every single
it's
time, every second that you're behind that Jag has some damage that's holding you up, it's It's long. It's
Yeah. For reference,
hard.
Zico's fastest lap is a 23.8, and his last lap was a 25.7, so 2
Yeah.
seconds off his fast pace, which is probably a second or so off his true pace now with tire wear.
But I will say, going back to your point about racing in the same machinery, at that point you just kind of have to. Your weaknesses and your strengths are the same everywhere, and now it comes down to driver. So at that point, you kind of have to trust yourself in the fact of, if you want to send it, can I take it the extra yardage in terms of my quality braking zone versus my race? This Brady is into the pits along with Watts. So look to see where Banks comes out in relative to Brady here. Because Banks was actually the first person without a pit requirement in the top 10.
And we'll see where it comes out. I will say, Funk closed the gap a little quicker than I would have thought with Brady diving into the pits. I didn't see what the last gap was, the last actual gap, but it didn't feel like it was still 10 seconds.
No, Marvin is now into the pit. Gap from Brady to Funk is about 29 seconds right now. So depending on how Funk's driving and how fast he can get his pit stop done, Banks looking down on the outside of Sky, not going to be able to get that move done. Depending on how Funk does his pit stop, it could mean that Funk stays first here. Craig joining the fight around the outside of Banks. Banks is going to bash doors with Craig and end up pushing Craig out a little bit. Craig's going to be able to come back here as Banks went a little too wide there after that door bash. Craig will take that position. Banks is forced to follow him behind.
I have a feeling we might see something about that later. We might see
Well, you're going to see it. I'm not.
There may be a disagreement. As Boonstra and Q Master, by the way, have just been within 2/10 for like 3 or 4 laps. Just driving around. A couple, souped up Volkswagen Beetles.
There's a car off in the grass. I will say, when it comes to racing with Boonstra, she's a extremely clean racer, very fun to race against. So, I'd race with Boonstra for 3 laps. I'll say that.
Yeah, that's what you get when you come to SRA. You get a tight grid where most people know what they're doing, and you don't have to worry about getting taken out.
And the best thing about it is that you still know everyone here. It's not like you race with them and then you just kind of forget about them. You're still stuck with these people for the next 7 or so weeks.
Yeah, unless it's Barcelona week 1,
then well, look.
we have some issues. Let's see, who else has a close gap on track? We have Davis, who's half a second behind Donahue, but that gap is extending now.
Yep.
Sky is 3/10 behind Cockcroft. There's a little bit of a train. Rose is in there too. I believe he's blue flagged. Rutledge in there, also a blue flag. Oh no, they're racing each other. They just happen to be racing each other directly behind Sky and Cockcroft.
Oh, nice. That's not a good combo, to say the least.
So 4 cars covered by a second, but only 2 separate races.
Will be in your picture-in-picture window. As we will stay on board with Davis as on Donahue. Donahue doing a great job as fending off this position. Good first race back from Donahue after missing out on Misano. Might be in a chance for a top 10 here.
He could be my DoorDash driver any day.
I was about to say, I feel like I should invite him in for an interview just because of that. But I've now taken a look at positions gained and positions lost right now. Martin Riggs, 29 positions gained. He's currently in P12.
Woof. And he's already cleared a pit stop too, so he's
correct. He's done his work. So Martin, if you hear me, I'm coming to the box, brother. Ghost Rider Racing.
I wish there was a way for drivers to opt into us being able to get them on radio during race.
Ooh.
Woof.
Car in the middle of the track. Everyone taking evasive maneuvers there.
Bash down the third again.
I feel like if we pull drivers radio in here, I feel like that would be a little distracting.
A little bit.
Unless they volunteer for it, like you're Doug, and you just, casually commentate endurance live streams while driving. Davis all over the back of Donahue. Davis looking down on the inside, extremely late on the brakes, washing out wide. Donahue's going to pull the switch back. Davis now in the gravel, going to lose all that time they made up to Donahue, and Donahue's actually going to collide with a blue flag and then get collided again from another car in the back, who I believe that was Funk.
Carnage. That's not, for Funk, that's not what you want to have happen from the lead of the race.
Oh, Donahue. Out on bail.
We have to call him back in. He needs to go have a meeting with the parole officer.
Unsure fully what happened there.
As that was happening, QBS did have a pretty sizable mistake and led through about 4 cars.
Trying to clear Rodriguez. Rodriguez ended up coming out a little too wide to take the racing line.
Yeah, and I don't know if holding the brakes that would have made done any help.
It looked like he was holding them relatively good. It's just the momentum of the car was taking him. There was nothing really you could do after the momentum takes you.
Just let go of the wheel and see what happens. Funk does hold a 23-second gap to Brady, so that'll probably be made up in the pits. I don't think he can get in and out under 23 seconds. It's probably closer to 35.
Yeah, especially with that damage, is depending on how drivable it is, because he's now dealing with both damage from that incident and damage from an incident earlier with Craig. So,
yeah,
not sure how heavy it is, but it can't be feeling.
Front end, side skirt damage is whatever, but that front end damage, the Jag already doesn't have that much bite.
Speaking of pits, Funk and Sanchez coming in at the same time. They have 8 minutes left in the race, about 5.5 minutes left in pit window. I've kind of fairly enjoyed this pit window here.
I am definitely an advocate for extended pit windows for all the races. I think it makes things more interesting.
This might be a little too much, but the strategies involved at such a short track with this pit window is insane.
Yeah, 55 minutes is a long window.
It's a long window, but I think
it's less of a window and more of like an open garage door.
Well, I will say, if you have these 55-minute long pit windows, this is the correct track to do it at, as it's such a extremely small track. And
yeah,
like only 9 turns. There's a lot of strategy that plays into either going in early, going in late. Who has the better strategy? As you saw with Funk, he went in late, but he had to deal with 2 incidents throughout most of the race. Not a fun time. Now he's paying the price. 9 seconds behind Brady now.
Yeah, I think the first one, unavoidable because he was racing for P2 at the time, and he collided with the person he was racing with. But yeah, an earlier or a pit at a different time could have potentially avoided that incident, could have put him in another one. Just gotta take it as it is. P2, 14 seconds clear P3.
He is still leading the gold division right now. Brady is leading the silver and the overall race. Funk leading the gold. Martin Riggs is just leading in my heart right now with how many positions he made up.
Did they count on that?
Don't think so, but it's in my heart.
Updated count, he is up 30 positions.
30. Absolutely insane. So we are watching Marvin Gold trying to maneuver throughout some of this lap traffic. Marvin is all over the back of Gold. Gold's going to have to dive into the pit, clear out their pit stop window. We'll release Marvin.
Close to the end.
And Roderick's.
Yeah, Roderick's 26 positions gained.
Still has his pit window, though.
Oh, yeah, that'll do it.
He has 3.5 minutes to get in there.
He's no Martin Riggs today.
No Martin Riggs today. Craig is back, baby. Coming for P4.
Just go right behind the back end of Banks for P6.
Craig's going to be chomping at the bit at Marvin, as Honda is probably going through it with the rear tires right now. Craig might have the run here on him, but doesn't look like it. We're still holding the same gap. Funk is in a yellow flag state right now. He is off and getting more damage.
Oof. That 14-second gap closing, now to 5. Manages to stabilize the gap at 4.5.
Oh, collision with White Scarver, same spot as Craig.
Oof.
He had earlier on in the race. Funk not having the best of times. Is able to get it back on track. It's just, can he hold that position for 5 minutes? His next challenger is Craig, who is moving rapidly. Just got past Marvin.
Yeah, and Funk has about, I'd say, we'll drop it quickly, 2 seconds ahead of Santos. And then a further 9 seconds to Craig, so hopefully can hold on to P2, but if not that, they're definitely fighting to hold on to his podium position.
Well, that's going on. Sky and Cockcroft went side by side. Doing an extremely fast turn, able to hold it cleanly. Zach Sky going to be able to hold that on the inside and get that position back.
I will say, it's been a while since I've seen someone have as much bad luck with blue flags as Funk has had today. That's 2 significant collisions with people he was not racing.
I believe, if you want to put it technically, no, you're right. I was gonna say, since he didn't pit, wouldn't that technically be someone he's racing with?
No. He was in P2. White Scarver is currently in P... Where is he?
I was talking about the Donahue incident. Donahue pit. Funk did not.
Got it.
Wouldn't that still be fighting? Don't
If there
allow
are blue
technicals
flags on
to
track, then no. I think that's chapter 8 of the SRA rulebook.
Got you. Funk's feeling that damage. Santos coming up on Funk very rapidly.
Yeah. Can he hold off a pass for 3 minutes?
It's going to be rough. Funk's having a hard time trying to hold it around these corners. And that doesn't spell well for him because his division rival right now, Craig, is only 7 seconds back from him.
Yeah, and he's going wide a lot of these exits.
Have to see what happens. Funk's going to need to hold something down. And the battle with Santos is not going to help him at all. I'd almost say let this man pass at this point if I'm Funk. If I have too much damage and I can't hold him behind. I know Craig is a fast boy.
I think you hold them behind and then you use the McLaren to block off the Ferrari as well.
That is true. That is a possibility, but you're relying
that would be my thought process at this point.
You're relying a lot on this McLaren to not take a ballsy dive at you as pit window's now closed. I believe everyone has their pit window cleared currently.
That is correct.
So, no penalties to give out for pit windows today.
Boo.
Wooly was foaming at the mouth for that. Stewart and Ainsley
Penalties give me life.
Santos trying everything he can, holding down the power so early, wheeling his back tires a little bit.
But that McLaren just has no low end grunt. You've been talking about the McLaren engine all day. At the top end, it's not bad. But out of the hole, no one's home.
It's a very rough car around slow speed circuits. But that aero kind of makes up for it a little bit, but your exits cost you a pretty penny here.
Yeah, the McLaren's very good at staying. Like, staying at whatever pace it's at.
Be great at an oval track. Despite Funk having this insane amount of damage on his front end, to the point where his hood's popping up, even a McLaren cannot outpower that Jag right now, even in the slipstream.
Well, it's because the Jag just spit fire on the downshift, and that makes it... That gives it at least 50 horsepower.
Santos wants back. Craig, now within 3 seconds of Funk right now. Final lap
they got
has
one
been
more lap.
relieved. Funk catching a little bit of grass there. Now what you want? Santos is all over the back of Funk right now.
There's just nowhere to go. That Jag is so wide, and it has so much just grunt.
Santos has to look ballsy here in some kind of turn. Taking different lines than Funk, though. The one last lap for this battle here. We can see Craig in the background coming here. Funk needs to have an extremely clean and decently fast lap. Santos might try to send it up on the inside here. They're going to choose against it.
The problem
Funk
for Craig
going
is
a
there is
little
blue-
wide. Santos coming on the inside, not able to slide out enough. And Funk will hold that position for the time being. Sorry to cut you off.
Nah, no worries. That's what we're looking for. I was just saying the car behind Santos though is blue flagged, and doesn't have many opportunities to give up the position to let Craig through.
This would be the opportunity, and I believe he is going to take that opportunity right now. Santos coming down on the straight. Funk, so much power in that Jag right now.
You look in the picture-in-picture, Banks and Zitko within 3/10, just fighting it out for this last lap.
Craig is now here within Santos. Santos sending it up the inside. Gonna collide with Funk. There they go, and through goes Craig. He's gonna take that P2 position and the divisional gold win away from Funk after that contact from Santos.
Ooh. Man. If I was Funk right now, I'd be fuming.
That happens. Brady crosses the line for the finish. We'll
Just-
win the entire race in the silver division. And Craig gonna hold her in P2.
What a recovery from Craig, by the way.
Amazing recovery. Funk gonna be able to get P3, almost outdragged by Santos. Surprisingly, we'll just put it P4. Santos doing a victory spin for whatever reason. Marvin comes home to take your P5. Zitko and Banks kind of dragging it out, but it will be Zitko over Banks. Davis a little bit farther back. Round in the final turn. P8 for Davis. And Riggs is on the back of Potvin. Probably will not get this position, but still there. Riggs holding a special place in my heart, getting a top 10 with the most positions.
Won't get this position, but got 31 of them.
Yeah. Decent. Decent.
He's very decent.
Decent to say the least. Well, that was a outstanding race to say.
Yeah, that was great.
Let's see.
I feel for my man Funk though. He had to deal with some stuff. Definitely had to deal with some stuff. Not the least of which being the Jaguar itself.
I do want to pull up Brady to congratulate him on his win.
Ask him how bored he was for the race.
Yes. If we can find him in chat. Out of the 3 divisions, trying to find out which race review they're in.
It should be race review 2. They're in race review. Yeah, race review 2.
Banks. Where are you, Banks? Banks, if you can hear me, or Banks. Brady. Sorry, I see him.
You know who you're looking for?
Sure. Brady, congratulations on the win, not only in the silver division, but for the entire race. Definitely a feat, to say the least. How are you feeling right now? He's not feeling at all. He left.
He said, I am uncomfortable being in this chat. I am out.
That's okay. That's okay. It happens.
I'm not. My feelings aren't hurt.
It happens. Then I want to get Craig.
Fair enough.
Where's Craig? Oh, and I don't want to drag Riggs either because this man's sharing his screen in the race.
Oh,
review.
man.
All right. Craig, are you there? I don't
Maybe
think
they're
he's there.
down in team chat? No, negative on the team chat as well.
He has left the building. He won gold and immediately left.
No one wants to talk to us in the booth.
It is the sad life we live. Well, maybe we have Funk.
Patrick Brady's back in the race review. He
Yeah,
just didn't want to talk to us.
it's fine. It's fine if you don't want to talk to us. That's okay. I don't think we have a lot of people to talk to.
Yeah.
Well,
All right, I guess.
I mean, is there anyone you particularly want to talk to? I mean, I would love to get Funk's vision on everything on what happened, but
He's not in here.
he's not in here. And Brady left us.
Let's just call it there. It seems we're getting the message, I think.
Okay.
Yeah, I think we're getting the message here.
Okay. Well, I'll run through my whole spiel then. If you liked what you saw today, I can English. If you like what you saw today and you want to be a part of it, some nice clean racing with us, come join us at simracingalliance.com. You can go over there, follow the instructions to join the Discord and the league. It's a very fun time. We have some fun in general chats, race reviews, everything. We even hold expedition events for fun races. It's a fun time. Come over, come get in it. Oh, I also forgot to mention we have an endurance race coming up here in 2 weeks, 5 hours of Imola.
Ooh,
So,
that'll be a good time.
yeah, if you want to do that with us, come on in, come join the fun. simracingalliance.com has all the instructions on how to join the Discord and everything like that. Sign up. Just want to shout out to all of our sponsors who have been rolling across the banner bars you can see above us. Thank you for sponsoring SRA. Couldn't do anything without you. From everything from the league to the streams, you keep us alive. All that said, Waleed, any closing statements?
You plan on doing the 5 hours at Imola? Don't drive the McLaren.
That is true.
Can't touch curbs. You will die.
If I'd recommend anything, I recommend a BMW.
Ooh, boring, but very, very
Boring,
safe.
but it's there. That's me signing off. Go ahead, sorry.
No, that's it.
That's me signing off, Taylor Mono for Waleed Sadat. We'll see you next week at Wet Imola.